headlines start to twist. He's digging through the stories, finding all the things you missed. Talking Super Bowl ads, old films in modern trouble. If the world's too loud, he cuts it down to the subtle. So turn that down, 'cause you know who's talking. Ooh, if there's truth in the static, Tom Gulley, from where you're looking. Ooh, you gotta dial G for Gulley. 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 Dial G for Gulley. You gotta dial G for Gulley. Sunrise greets him with a golden crown. Tom Gulley's ready, no time to slow down. His voice a river, smooth and deep. He's got the stories that make the city weep. Walking streets where legends grow. Everywhere he stops, they already know. Tom Gulley goes to town. Oh, he lights it up, never lets it down. Tom Gulley goes to town. He's the man they cheer, the talk of the town. Oh yeah, yeah. Woo, yeah. Woo, yeah. Barbershop chatter, a wave and a grin. Coffee shop wisdom, let the tales begin. The baker hands him a loaf with a smile. Tom, you're the man who makes life worthwhile. A mic in his hand, the airwaves ignite. He spins a story, he turns on the light. Listeners gather from far and wide. Tom Gulley's words, a city's pride. Tom. He lights it up, never lets it down. Tom Gulley goes to town. He's the man they cheer, the talk of the town. Tom Gulley goes to town. Oh, he lights it up, never lets it down. Tom Gulley goes to town. He's the man they cheer, the talk of the town.
It was late, one even smooth and mellow and sweet. Tom Gulley on the airwaves laying down that beat. He heard a little rustle, tapping soft and discreet. Turned around and saw some spiders dancing on their feet. All their legs were shiny gold, and the rhythm pure heat. He thought, hold on, baby, these little fellas groove kinda crazy, and the whole room lit like a disco dream. Oh, that was the night the spiders attacked. But with disco hearts, baby, nothing got whacked. Skittering, jittering, never losing the tact. Tom Gulley smiling, feeling all the impact. Oh, honey, no one got sacked. Oh, shimmering grin open wide. He saw those tiny dancers moving side to side. Didn't take a minute for the man to join the ride. Every spider in the room kept the groove amplified. The lights flickered bright like a Motown stage. Silky harmonies floating like we'd turn a new page. Spiders tapping rhythm like a miniature band. Oh, that was the night the spiders attacked. But with disco hearts, baby, nothing got whacked. Skittering, jittering, never losing the tact. Groove so smooth it bordered on abstract. Oh, honey, no one got sacked. Oh, the night, the night, the night the spiders attacked. Oh, that was the night the spiders attacked. Silver legs shimmering in every move exact. Glittering, gliding, keeping all the rhythm packed. Groove so heavy, every heartbeat sinking stack. Oh, honey, the whole world clapped. For the night, the night, the night the spiders attacked.
Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What's shaking tonight? I am going to tell you about the Sunshine Skyway Bridge collapse. I'm going to play some absolutely riveting audio from that actual occurrence. And I'm going to show you some photos too that might make you go, I don't know about bridges. Not too crazy about bridges. Used to live in Tampa, and I traveled across the replacement bridge, foreshadowing, many, many times. But do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all those free things you can do that help us out with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing algorithm. Plus, we have super chats. We do have memberships. You can gift memberships if you want. And then, of course, there is the PayPal. That's where you give the most, I get the most, Google gets nothing. All of it is in the begging bar at the bottom of the screen if you're watching us on YouTube, and it's also in the description of our fabulous YouTube post about this event. And to all of our friends on Podbean that listen to us, which I neglect quite frequently, if you're an audio-only person, you can go to Podbean or the TomGulleyShow.com and get all of, I'm updating all of our video to audio. I've been doing that all day. Just the good ones. Just the good ones. Also at the TomGulleyShow.com, there is our merch store just in time for the holidays. So if you like audio only, if you're like our good friend Sky, who is listening to audio at work, well, that's ready-made for you. All those babies are there just on audio. And it's not just on Podbean. It's wherever fine podcasts are sold. And when I say sold, I mean for free. Anyway, Team Brittany was here earlier. She's a moderator on a giant LawTube channel. It's like 150,000 subscribers or something like that. She says, should be an interesting topic. And though I was very young, I remember when this happened and was in the area at the time. It was very scary to everyone. It's going to get scarier. It's going to get a lot scarier because I'm going to start showing you pictures. Yeah. And I'm going to start showing those to you now. I'm going to start showing them to you now. Now, this is the original Sunshine Skyway Bridge. It was, it was a 2-lane beam bridge, as you can see. And it had these central trusses it was just to the west of the one that currently exists. This thing was completed in 1954, and a second 2-lane span was constructed. As you can see there, you can see 2 sets of sort of pillars that are lifting up the bridge. And originally there was one, and it was 2 lanes. They built another one that was 2 lanes. And one of the sides went one direction, the other side went the other direction. Because that's the way they did it back then. Sure. And this was not, let's just say, the luckiest of bridges. Currently, that bridge, and when you're talking about bridges in Tampa, like this one, there's 3 of them. And this one here, 4-mile-long bridge. It's a way to span the bay to get various places from one side of Tampa to the other across the bay. And on January 28th of 1980, the United States Coast Guard cutter Blackthorn collided with the tanker Capricorn on the western approach to the bridge, sinking the cutter, and its 23 crew members lost their lives in the worst peacetime disaster in the history of the U.S. Coast Guard. Not having the greatest of years in 1980, although there was an attractive postcard for the first bridge. That's the original 1-lane Sunshine Skyway Bridge, immortalized in postcard. Who among us doesn't want to be immortalized in postcard? But the bigger incident happened on the morning of May 9th, 1980. And that's when the freighter, the Summit Venture, this fella right here, a freighter, a big old freighter, was in the middle of a squall. A lot, you know what a squall is, right? Any maritime people in the room? Squall? It's a sudden, intense increase in wind speed. It's not a gust. It lasts for minutes, not seconds, right? And normally a squall is associated with thunderstorms, heavy snow, rain snows. It's a very intense weather event, and it sufficiently and severely messes with your ability to see. Well, the Summit Venture on that morning collided with a support pier near the center of the bridge. And that resulted in the catastrophic failure of the southbound roadway, as you can see here. 35 people lost their lives. A Greyhound bus and several other vehicles plunged into Tampa Bay. Now, traffic was diverted on the surviving side for a number of years until the replacement was built. Incidentally, the happiest news we have for this story, and there's not a lot of happy news, is that the new one's really nice. It's really nice. You know? The old one is partially demolished and converted into some fishing piers and stuff. But anyway, let's get into it just a little bit deeper. So that southbound span opened in 1971, right? So 9 years later, that southbound span was destroyed when the freighter that I showed you a few seconds ago collided with that support column during that squall. And over 1,200 feet of the bridge failed. Now, several of the vehicles were at the top of the bridge when that section fell away beneath them. An almost quarter-mile long of roadway, by the way, while others drove off the edge. It happened so fast, and that was because the drivers either didn't notice the collapse in this driving rainstorm, or they couldn't stop quickly enough in the very wet weather conditions. In all, 6 cars, a truck, and a Greyhound bus fell 150 feet into Tampa Bay, resulting in those 35 deaths. A few drivers, including former Major League player Granny Hamner, who was a very instrumental player on the legendary 1950 National League champion Philadelphia Phillies, known as the Whiz Kids. Well, they were able to stop their vehicles before reaching the gap. And as seen in many, if not all, photos of this disaster, that Buick Skylark there, just feet from the edge, was driven by local car dealer Richard Hornbuckle, and he skidded to a stop, just 2 feet from going over. And as you can see over to the right, that is the Summit Venture that struck that pillar, resulting in the collapse of the bridge. Now, I have for you some audio, and I'm going to go ahead and play all of it as soon as I set up the audio here very quickly. It's intense. It's some intense audio. Let's see here. Here it is. This is the actual Coast Guard audio from when the collision happened. And I think if you listen to this, you will be as impressed as I was with the Coast Guard dispatcher. Here you go.
Mayday, 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 Coast Guard. Mayday, 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 Coast Guard.
Vessel calling Mayday, vessel in distress. This is United States Coast Guard, St. Petersburg, Florida. Request your position, nature of distress, and number of persons on board. Over.
This is it. All the emergency equipment out to the Skyway Bridge. The vessel just hit the Skyway Bridge. The Skyway Bridge is down. Get all emergency equipment out to the Skyway Bridge. The Skyway Bridge is down. There's a Mayday, emergency situation. Stop the traffic on that Skyway Bridge.
This is Coast Guard, St. Petersburg. Roger, what size is the vessel that hit the bridge? Over.
The large vessel. Stop the traffic on the Skyway Bridge. There's some people in the water. Get emergency equipment out to the Skyway Bridge now.
This is Coast Guard, St. Petersburg. Roger, what vessel are you on? Over.
Some adventure.
Adventure, Coast Guard, St. Petersburg. Roger, what is the size of your vessel, and can you assist? Over.
Cannot assist. We're 606 feet long, light draft. We cannot assist. We are in on abutment. Stop all the traffic on the bridge. Send some vessels out here to render assistance. People are up there.
This is Coast Guard, St. Petersburg. Roger.
Good progress, Coast Guard, St. Petersburg, 22.
Negative. Stay on 16. Pass all traffic on 16. Break. Pon. Hello, all stations. This is United States Coast Guard, St. Petersburg, Florida. Silence is imposed on this frequency. Silence Mayday. Silence is imposed on this frequency. This is United States Coast Guard, St. Petersburg, Florida. Out.
This is Coast Guard, St. Petersburg. I'm dropping anchor on board and we'll be headed for the bridge to assist. The Dixie Progress, OS 5041.
Coast Guard, St. Petersburg. Roger, may I have the name of your vessel again, please, over.
The Tug Dixie Progress.
Dixie Progress, Coast Guard, St. Petersburg. Roger, please advise me when you're on scene and the number of people you pick up out of the water. There is a report that there are people in the water.
Any vessel. This is the Yacht Queen Bess, Whiskey Yankee Bravo 9468 for a radio check, please. Over.
To all stations, this is United States Coast Guard, St. Petersburg, Florida. The vessel, some adventure, 606 foot, has hit the Skyway Bridge. Any vessels in Tampa Bay area, Skyway vicinity, proceed and assist. There are reports of people in the water. Break. This is United States Coast Guard, St. Petersburg, Florida. Out. Coast Guard, St. Petersburg, over. Vessel that hit the Skyway, the vessel Some Adventure. This is Coast Guard, St. Petersburg, Channel 16, over.
Some Adventure, Roger.
Some Adventure, Coast Guard, St. Petersburg. Roger, what is your cargo, over?
We're light, inbound.
This is Coast Guard, St. Petersburg. Roger, where did the people come from that are in the water, over?
On the bridge.
This is Coast Guard, St. Petersburg. Roger, request you stand by 16. Do not shift to any other frequency.
Stand by.
Some Adventure, Coast Guard, St. Petersburg. Did either span of the Skyway go down into the water, over?
So the west span went down, the west span.
Roger, the whole west span, over?
The west span is down in the water.
So there is the actual Coast Guard responding to the emergency, several other vessels assisting, and the Some Adventure itself responding after they struck the bridge. They could not help. They were on the abutment themselves. They were stranded. You may have heard, and it was difficult to hear some of that. Not all of it was perfect audio, but they did say, let me turn off this one thing I got to turn off here. They did say that they were what was known as in ballast. In ballast. They didn't really have cargo. They only had the ballast that was in the ship. So that was it. Now, in the water when this happened, several small and other private boats and a transportation department diving team, which happened to be nearby, arrived after the squall sort of cleared. But the rescue effort quickly became a recovery operation as only victims were found in the water. Yes, there were people in the water, as you heard during that very intense audio. The only survivor of the fall was a man named Wesley McIntyre, who had a Ford Courier pickup truck that had bounced actually off the hull of the Some Adventure and into the water. The truck sank to the very shallow bottom of the bay, but McIntyre managed to escape and swim to the surface, where he was quickly pulled to safety aboard the Some Adventure. He sued the company that owned the ship and won $175,000 in a settlement in 1984, about $500,000 today. John Larrow, a guy named John Larrow, was the harbor pilot who was steering the Some Adventure at the time of the accident, and he was cleared, actually, of any wrongdoing by a state grand jury and by a Coast Guard investigation. Now, the investigators said that that inbound freighter had been in the process of maneuvering into the narrow channel under the center of the bridge when a microburst containing, and I lived in Tampa, and I lived about a block and a half north of the northernmost portion of Tampa Bay. And you want to talk about just really intense, heavy, out of nowhere weather. It could happen. It could happen. The hardest rains I've ever experienced in my life were there in Tampa Bay. There were times where I worked in another part of the city where the rain would come down so intensely and so quickly that even though it's a place used to rain, it's a place not very high off of the sea level, it would flood. There were certain areas that would get 3 or 4 feet deep fast, and then they would go away like that because the intensity of the rain, while it was strong, it didn't last a really, really, really long time. Anyway, this microburst was torrential, 70-mile-an-hour winds, and so the visibility was just about zero, and the ship's radar, due to all of that, was pretty much useless. Now, John Larrow, that harbor pilot, put the ship's engines into full reverse and ordered the emergency dropping of the anchor when he realized that the freighter had left the channel, but the forward momentum of this 20,000-ton ship, it's a freighter, man. It is a freighter. And by the way, if there's any activity in our chat room, I'm not seeing it. So that's either StreamYard or I'm just not popular. Anyway, that forward momentum, along with those winds, pushed the bow into the support beams to the right of that shipping lane. I think the best photo of that is this one here, where you can see off to the right, that's where the Summit Venture hit. And it even, affected the other side a little bit, not quite as much, but it completely took down that one span. Now, while the main support pier nearest to the channel withstood that strike with just a little bit of damage, the secondary support pier, just to the south, that one wasn't designed to withstand such an impact. That's not necessarily where ships would traditionally, and certainly ships of this size, would be going. So because it wasn't designed for that, it failed, and I mean big time. And all of the southbound span collapsed at 7:38 a.m. Soon after, that other span, the northbound span, was converted back to what it had been back in the day. That was a 2-lane, 2-way bridge. While the state of Florida just had to figure out, what are we going to do? Are we going to knock the whole thing down? Are we going to... They thought about making a tunnel. And they said, no, that ain't going to work. Do we just reconstruct that one broken section? Which, frankly, wouldn't have solved this problem. It wouldn't have solved the issue that caused this catastrophe. It wouldn't have made that channel underneath the bridge any larger. So the governor of Florida, Bob Graham, he said, let's build a signature, an absolute beautiful bridge with cables, called a cable-stayed bridge, which would have spans that were much wider, than the old bridge. And, we will also protect those piers with these massive pieces of concrete called dolphins that basically are there just to keep ships from hitting the actual piers. And they began construction 3 years later by putting pilings on and working on the main piers in September of that year. The project itself was delayed several times by bad weather and construction difficulties, and the planned opening was pushed back several times. But finally, in April of 1987, boom, we're going to open this bridge. However, on the 29th of April at about 3:30, the new bridge's protective bumpers were hit head-on by the Deliverance, a 74-foot shrimp boat. Thanks, Deliverance. The bumper sustained minor damage and the bridge was not affected, but the vessel took on water and was towed out of the channel into shallow waters where it promptly sank. However, the opening ceremonies proceeded just as scheduled. Congratulations. Congratulations. And then in 1990, they demolished the old bridge. It was a huge project. They had to dismantle the piles and piers and surface roadway and girders and beams, and they had to be very careful to remove all of those underwater bridge elements near the channel so that other people didn't hit them. The Port of Tampa is very, very busy. Most of the concrete was used to create an artificial reef near the southbound approach of the old bridge, which was converted into a long pier created for the newly created Skyway Fishing Pier State Park. Yeah. Wesley McIntyre, I told you about him. The only motorist who survived the collapse was the last person to drive over the intact original span before it was demolished. And accompanied by his wife, he stopped at the apex of the bridge and dropped 35 white carnations into the water, one for each person who had died in the collapse. Oh, the news just keeps getting better for this guy, the new one. There are concerns about the new bridge. At least 316 people have died by suicide by jumping off the bridge or its predecessors into the waters of Tampa Bay. An estimated 48 others have survived. Yes. Many other missing persons are suspected of having jumped from the bridge, but their deaths couldn't be confirmed as, well, nobody found anything really there to indicate that. In response to all that, Florida installed 6 crisis hotline phones along the center span in 1999 and began 24-hour patrols. The bridge sees about an average of 1 jump per month. Yeah, so there you go. In 2020, Florida Department of Transportation installed the Skyway Vertical Net, a vertical fence designed to deter such event attempts. Fencing was placed atop the bridge's waist-high concrete barriers, creating a wall of about 11 feet tall, which runs for 1.5 miles along the highest portions of the bridge. Another problem the new bridge has is corrosion in the steel of those segmental columns on the high-level approaches. Because those are hollow, workers were able to enter the bridge superstructure in 2003 and 2004 to reinforce the corroded sections of the bridge. Yeah. There you go. There you go. I think I have a few other horrifying pieces of information about this bridge collapse. Look at this dude here. I couldn't do this. I could not be that guy. I do not think I could be that guy ever. I don't like heights. Not crazy about heights. Let's see here. Oh, here it is. Here it is. So this Wesley McIntyre guy that was the only survivor, and then he drove the last person over the old bridge's span. Yeah. That happened in 1980. He wins the settlement in 1984. And then in 1989, he dies of bone cancer at the age of 65, always regretting, apparently, being the sole survivor among those who fell. Each year, he drove to the bridge on the accident's anniversary and saluted those who did not survive. Incidentally, the Summit Venture was repaired and continued in service under the same name. It was inspected in Tampa in 1990 by the U.S. Coast Guard. In November of 1993, it was sold by its original owner to a Greek company that renamed it Sailor. And then 3 years later, it was rechristened Sailor One and bought by a Panamanian company, mostly trading in U.S. West Coast ports. It was sold again in May of 2004 to a company in Singapore under the name Harmony, and it changed hands for the last time in 2008, bought by a Hong Kong-based international shipping company as the Zhanmao 9. In November of 2010, the Zhanmao 9 sank off the Vietnamese coast near Lai Song Island after her holds flooded in heavy weather on a voyage from Malaysia to China. All 27 crew members on board were rescued from life rafts by 2 container ships, 26 by the Aquarius and 1 by the Kota Nelayan. There you go. And that is pretty much all I have to tell you about the collapse of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. Please do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all those absolutely freebie things. Totally free. They won't cost you a penny, just a click that you can help us with to defeat the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing algorithm. Also, we have super chats, we have memberships, we have the PayPal and all that stuff. It's down in the begging bar here, which is just disappearing off the screen kind of right now. And you can go to the TomGulleyShow.com. We're updating that whole page with just audio podcasts of our video show like this one, and they're pretty much all updated over there at the TomGulleyShow.podbean.com. If you want them right now, that's where they're at. Also, just like every show, the link is in our chat room. The link, here's to the link. And if you want to be on, you don't have to turn your camera on. You just click the link, blow it off when it asks you for the camera part. You do have to turn on your microphone. You can be on the show. Or you can ask me questions about things. I got to check something out here. Real quick on YouTube. Let's see. Let me just see something here for my own edification. I have a lot of edification that I need to take care of from time to time. Well, this is one of those times. This happens to be one. Oh, stop it. Stop it. Okay, the National Park Foundation. I will never do business with you ever. It never will happen. Wow, we really do not have anybody in our chat room today, apparently. Normally that is a buzz with activity, and not today. Ixnay on that. Oh, here we go. Here's one. The chef is here. He is in the kitchen. He's an actual chef, you know. Speaking of Skyway, he's in the sky. He's in the biggest, well, one of the biggest buildings in Indianapolis. He's a chef on the top floor. Or is it the next to the top floor? It doesn't matter. You can't even eat where he cooks unless you have a membership to the club that's on that floor. I never have had a membership, but my boss had a membership. And if you're a member, you can bring a guest, or I assume several guests. And I was there all the time. That's how I met Sharon Stone's best friend. How did I know she was Sharon Stone's best friend? Because she told everybody nonstop. And she did, to her credit, she did at one point get Sharon Stone on the phone to prove it. Because I was like, you're not Sharon Stone's best friend. What are you talking about? No, I didn't fall off the turnip truck yesterday, sister. You can't possibly be Sharon Stone's best. But she was, apparently. Unless she was the best friend of the world's greatest Sharon Stone impersonator. I'm pretty sure it was Sharon Stone, though. It was just enough arrogance and whatnot. It was not a long call. But yes, that's the Skyline Club there in Indianapolis. I think a tomahawk steak there costs $300. It's not $300. But it's, because you've been there. You've seen what they charge for a tomahawk steak at these fine restaurants. Stribbs is here. He said, my basic instinct would be it's not the real Sharon Stone. It was. But that's often wrong. That was my instinct at first. But then I found out. Tomahawk steak is $150. And worth every penny, I might add. Worth every penny. Let me see something here. Doggone it. I just saw Sharon Stone in that Nobody 2 movie. You guys remember that? You do remember that, right? Nobody was really, really, really good. I almost wish they didn't make the second one, I got to be honest with you. So, let's see here. I asked her a question about the movie The Quick and the Dead. That's that Western movie she was in with Gene Hackman and Russell Crowe and yada, yada, yada. And, those people. Well, she answered the question immediately. And it was not an easy question to answer. It was not an easy question to answer. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And by the way, I asked her another question that many people wouldn't know, and she got that one right, too. She got all the questions right. When did she do the... Oh, so this was like her big next movie, at least from a success standpoint. It was shortly after Basic Instinct, and it was directly before Casino. Sharon Stone at the time was what we call big box office. Stribbs says, do you get to take the bone home with you? Look, Stribbs, I'm certainly not the chef, but I'm going to answer for him anyway. Stribbs, have you been to Indianapolis? I am super certain that you can take the bone home with you. In Indianapolis, they'll make you a deal on the fork. I mean, it's Indianapolis. Let me see here. There was a piece of audio. Let me see if I can find it. That you guys all liked the other day. And I'm going to see if I could find it, because everybody liked it. And therefore, I may just play it again. Oh, wait a second here. That's already checked there. Good gravy almighty. That's a lot of searching for an old man to do. That's not there. Gosh, dog it, I hate it when it... Let's see here. Okay. Why would... Hold on. Found it. Bam. Found it. Okay, hold on. I can make this happen. Here we go. A lot of you guys like this. Now, if you don't, at this point, I don't know what to tell you. Many people did. I was playing some fake History Channel. The History Channel, look, they still do some good work. There's still some really great history documentaries on it. And I'm a history buff, as you guys know. And so there's still stuff on there I like. Now, when it first started, it was like almost PBS level. It was really history. And then they realized, hey, you maybe can't make a network, based on history without throwing a little Hitler in there. And then they saw how well Hitler stuff did. And then it became the Hitler Channel for a good 3 or 4 years. I did some commercials about that. I'm not going to play those. And then they started going into sort of sensationalist stuff. And I thought this was kind of like one of the things that they would do. And I played it the other day, and apparently some of you liked it. So this is that. I'm sorry if this is... Let me just take it down a little. Let me just take it down a little in case it's too loud.
November 22nd, 1963. Shots ring out in Dallas.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
A mere 3 days later, a man with uncanny psychic abilities predicts the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. He was the man who saw yesterday. The History Channel presents Earl Wooten Jr., the man who saw yesterday. A human being with psychic abilities whose unerringly uncanny predictions baffle experts to this day. Predictions made mere hours after the actual events. Man reaches the moon, and a week later comes the unnervingly uncanny prediction. The Challenger space shuttle disaster predicted just 36 hours after the Challenger space shuttle disaster. And the fall of the Berlin Wall predicted only 12 hours after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Nostradamus, ancient Mayans, Edgar Cayce, and Gene Dixon can all kiss the ass of the man who saw yesterday, Thursday at 8 on the History Channel.
Hey, man, you guys are the ones that like that. I just did it a couple of years ago. It wasn't... Yeah. We got about 17 minutes to kill here. Sky says, yeah, the History Channel is just Hitler and UFOs and Hitler's UFOs now. Oh, hey, man, I knew they were full in on Hitler when it was Hitler in color. Or they called it World War II in color, but it was mostly Hitler. They figure out ways to not just say, hey, look, Hitler. But it's a lot of Hitler. There's a good amount of Hitler going on there. And there's that show they had and it's historically legitimate, but all the weapons that the Nazis had designed and maybe had one prototype for, or they built a couple of them that could have changed the war. Anyway, Terry Nee is here. Says, hello, young man. Terry Nee, isn't this a busy, busy day for you? Isn't this a busy day for the moderator of all moderators, the Bell? I don't know what that means, but Terry Nee says, hello, young man. I am younger than you. Terry, isn't this a busy, busy day due to the activities, look, now I'm not going to talk about it. Nobody asked me about it. I'm not going to get into it. I'm Sky. I think they're just coping with the fact that we beat Germany. Yes. Friend of the show. This is a friend of the show. Is this show anti-Aryanite? It's a very complicated question. I think we're anti-National Socialism of the early 19th, 20th century. Terry says, my rational perspective is called upon by so many. That's true. There's a thing that happened that everybody became aware of last night. I can't put that up on screen, Sky. Mama. A friend of the show says, if you have to think about it, I have my answer. Well, if you want to just have an answer, then make up your own, and I'll take you at your word. So a thing happened that everybody became aware of, but nobody asked me about it. There's a verse that I really don't talk about, and so I probably just shouldn't talk about it. It's just that I have 14 minutes to kill. And man, oh man. Yeah. And it's a difficult topic because there are people who are not really associated with this verse, like maybe they used to be, or like some other people are, that I really like. And then there's people that do things that maybe dabble in that verse that I also like. Terry would be one of those people. I've just never heard the term before. Second verse, same as the first. Sorry, I had to. And so, yeah. But a thing happened that I could have told you was going to happen. This guy says he's Dabla verse. I don't know what that is. The Guido Samurai salutes us. We salute him back. So yeah, but this thing that happened, if somebody asked me about it, I've got thoughts. I've got some thoughts. But I could have told you the thing that happened would eventually happen a long time ago. So vague. You know the thing that happened. You know the thing that happened. If you don't, I'm not gonna. But you know the thing that happened that everybody's talking about. But I could have told you that thing was going to happen a long time ago. See, here's the thing. This show is not popular. I'd be the first to admit it. Of course, if I keep playing things like The Man Who Saw Yesterday, we're going to skyrocket. It's not designed to be popular. It's designed for two things. Number one, to talk about things that don't really get talked about all that often, or to tell people things about things that get talked about a lot that they've never heard talked about. Number one. And the number two is for me to enjoy myself. Those are the only two goals. Would we like to make a lot more money? Yeah, we would. We would like to clear the lowest threshold for the payout every month from Google. That we would like to do. Just for our own ego, just for our own self-respect. And certainly more viewers and all that stuff. Yeah, those are things that everybody wants. Those aren't things that I designed this show to do. If I wanted a show where I got lots of viewers and lots of money, there's a lot of different things you can do. You can do a political show. You can do a show about the latest Netflix sensation show. You can do a show about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Even to this day, swear to God, you could. You could do a show about a specific sports team. There's a lot of things you could do. I could do a show where I eat things, okay? Or I could do a show where I just go out in public and interview people. There's a lot of things you can do. I could do a show where I react to movies with an elderly person or music. There's things. This ain't that thing. Now, see, Terry Nee, you're getting to the basis of it here. He knew the Dabbleverse would devolve into this caca storm also. And what I'm heading at with what I'm saying, because I think men of a certain age could see this coming a mile away, is when you deal with, and you are comprised solely of, people that enjoy messing with other people, lowbrow humor, trolling. Those are not high intellect activities. Can they be amusing for a short period of time? Yes. But I am amazed that other people are amazed at the results of their actions. The Dabbleverse, since Terry brought it up. Thank you, Terry. That was my opening. We do a little trolling. Pranksterism and trolling are two different things. Terry, our age gives us insight where human behavior degenerates not with not accountability. Yeah, with no accountability. Since Terry brought it up, there's some people who've been sued. Now, John Melendez. Maybe not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Maybe has built up a vast superstructure of an ego that is not necessarily at this point in time deserved. Maybe overreacts. But we've established not that bright a guy, right? But says he is on it, but not that bright a guy. On the other hand, people want to say this and that and this and that and this, that about him. Whether it's deserved or not, he was, I won't say an integral part, but I will say a significant part of the Howard Stern Show. Arguably the best post-television radio show of all time. And whether you think he deserved it or not, he was the announcer and then listed as a writer, a staff member on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Now, whether you think those are hey, you didn't deserve, well, if you could undeservingly get that job, you would, but you didn't, and he did. When you and others devote 6, 7, 8 hours or more of content directed at ridiculing a person, and when you steal their thrown away furniture, and when you follow them to appearances, and when you do all of that for 3 years, don't act injured or surprised when you get sued. In, by the way, what is by all accounts looking as an outside third party, not the smartest lawsuit of all time. But he's sued other people before. I was just talking about Sharon Stone, right? Huh? Don't be surprised. Don't act like a victim. If you didn't see that coming, well, that's on you. Okay? By the same token, when you start glorifying people within that community that have a proven track record for an only casual association with the truth, in other words, people who will lie and make up anything, that will manufacture the worst things you can imagine about another human being and pass it off as fact, and they have, however small, a little gaggle of people giggling and willing to do their little minion behaviors for them and stuff. It's only a matter of time until one of them fills themselves up with enough self-glorification that, yeah, why don't I just contact some authorities and just say some stuff? You're allowed to walk on the sidewalk outside somebody's house. You are. Is it cool? Is it this or is it that? I don't know. You're allowed to give another person another person's address. You are. Publicizing it, different story, but you are. What you're not allowed to do is make a false police report. For your entertainment purposes on your little show. It's only a matter of time. Only a matter of time. The default to all this is, hey, we're just busting huevos. We're just. When you're doing that, look, I played sports. I played sports at a higher level than probably everybody in this room. And when you're busting huevos, both people are consenting participants. If both people are not consenting participants, you're just being a jerk. That's what that is. Some of the people who have indulged in this, by the way, I think are extremely smart and talented. So the fact that they don't see this is puzzling to me. And by the way, they're making a good living. They're making a lot of money doing it. That's why I have to assume they do it. I don't need to make a dime on this. I have a real job. This is not my career. Let's see here. I do enjoy some fun trolling, though. A prank every now and then, hey, fine. Every once in what was the Ashton Kutcher show and all that, fine. A constant everyday effort and everything that a person does, like I have this spoon here still from Halloween, the spoon of gloom, because it makes me laugh. If Stuttering John did that, look at, I can just hear a certain guy from Rochester, New York going, who keeps a spoon that long? I mean, everybody's got spoons. I have spoons. It's just, dude, you're like an 8th grade girl. Stop it. Incidentally, if somebody wanted to spring up a little about him, you wouldn't have to go too far past his live appearances. Whoa. In a live audience situation where he doesn't have 3 other people there, you're so awesome, and there's an audience, ooh, there's some brutal stuff there. The Guido Samurai says the Dabble versus a bunch of grown men calling the police on each other. Gross. It is. Terry says, John gave me his phone number. I'm a very reliable person with trusted status. Terry, I have phone numbers as well. There's somebody that you and I both know that I love this person. I think they're the most awesome dude ever. I think you know who I'm talking about. Not only do I have it, I've never used it. You know what? I take that back. I think one time I may have wished that person a Merry Christmas. That was it. Do you know, by the way, do you know the numbers I have on this phone from my radio career? I got some biggies on here. Haven't ever done that. Haven't done that. Wouldn't do that. Guido, yes, it is insane. Terry Nee says, my wife is tired of me ridiculing Tom Gulley. Bless that little wife of yours. The chef says, another night in the kitchen. Anybody thinking activation? I gotta go. Say goodnight, Gracie. Guido's throwing up. It falls under the First Amendment, all of it. No. 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 You can't make a false police report. They have swatting laws. You can't do that. Misuse of 911 was the only crime committed. Well, that's what I'm talking about. Tom lives. I do not live there, folks. Stop it. Was that the state capitol or something? Tom sounding like a dipe beast. I don't even know what that is. Meniscus says base, Tom. Let's see here. Friend of the show is laughing. Mary Oofmas. Bo. Tom has the first phone number. Come quick, Mr. Watson. I need you. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, but forget all that other legal mumbo jumbo, blah, 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 blah. That person, look, if somebody doesn't like me, fine. I don't really require that many people's liking me. When people make up stuff, if you watch this show or you know me personally, there is plenty to make fun of without making stuff up. You literally could for weeks and years without making stuff up. And there's just too many people in that certain group who are kind of like, what do they call it when you're judgment proof, where you could sue them, but they don't have anything. So they're judgment proof. You get a judgment against them, you won't get a dime. They don't got anything. They're the same way online. They got nothing to lose. They got nothing else in their life. They got nothing that they are worried about losing or motivated to protect. One of these days, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, But soon, and for the rest of your life, Section 230 is going to come down, and you will see a crackdown on these platforms like no other. If Google was on the hook for some of the things that are said and done on YouTube, ooh, mama, they wouldn't be allowed, because they're not paying a penny for nothing. Trust me. Those things are going to happen because of behavior like that. Eventually, something's going to happen. It'll be a national news story. Trust me. Trust me. Gonna happen. I know this just as much as I knew dumb things like what just happened. Be shocked that it happened, but be more shocked that you didn't see this coming. That's where it's been leading. When people are contacting family members, when they're encouraging other people to become friends of family members, when people are tracking down old girlfriends, when people are tracking down, the producer of an album that was made 30 years, when that starts happening, visiting houses, which not illegal. It's just, what's the guy's name? The nice podcast guy. He went to Chad's house. Where's the heat there? I was watching Pat Dixon the other night, who, man, do I really love Pat Dixon. But he's so Dabbleverse now, I can't watch it that much. But I do watch it a little. He tickles the ivories with great skill. Anyway, so it's different when I do it. He said about something, and I put in there, that should be the motto of the Dabbleverse. It's different when I do it. And he went, hey, no doubt. At least that's why I like Pat. So anyway, let's go through some of these comments and then let's get out of here. Let's get out. I've gone way too long. And tomorrow night, the disappearance of Lauren Spirer, who, like all these disappearances that are unsolved, it is maddeningly frustrating. It is exceedingly frustrating. And it's ornate with things that make you go, what? Why? What? So anyway, let me see here. Tom has the first number. Dial T for Tom Gulley. You got to dial G for Gulley, you know. I like you, Tom. Thank you, Meniscus Drywall. Interesting name. It's really become sad. Tom Gulley was on for a famous Dabbleverse event. I was on for two famous Dabbleverse events. I don't know which one you're talking about, but and nobody remembers that I was even there. Yep, the ones with nothing have pushed out everyone. You're right. What is Section 230? Okay, Section 230 is when the internet first started, the U.S. government said, all of you platforms like Facebook and YouTube, and I guess at the time MySpace, you cannot be held liable for anything that happens on your platform. So if I was to slander you or whatever, you couldn't sue Google. You'd have to sue me, right? You couldn't say, hey, Google, you've created an environment here that is pretty much a utility at this point. It's in every house. Everybody uses it. So that's where it's really spreading. You know, if the same person did the same thing to me in a room or even a room full of people, that's one thing. You're broadcasting it all over the world and you're recording it so people can listen to it over and over again. Can't do that. The only thing you can do it with, legally, not by terms of service, okay, but legally, the law is copyrighted music. And that's why if I right this minute played the Gilligan's Island theme song, this would either come down or I would get a strike or a notification. might get a notification. They're worried about that because they can be sued for distributing that. Ooh, that's why even on Facebook, you start playing a little music that's copyrighted. Mama, that algorithm figures it out, and I mean quick, fast, and in a hurry, within seconds. Okay? If Section 230 goes away, and they're responsible for speech, for trolling, for libel, for slander, ooh, mama, you're not going to be allowed to do it. Not going to be allowed to do it. Anyway, Guido, broadcasting liability. Friend of the show says, I fundamentally disagree, although I fully disapprove. This guy says, it's like with the VPN bans and age verification stuff. It's all about control, not safety. I think it's all about liability. Thought crime, pre-crime. Well, no, it would just reflect the rest of society. Thank you for the explanation. No big deal. No, it would just reflect, the rest of society. Because right now, see, there are people that have things that can ruin someone's reputation or their ability to have employment or lots of other things because of the platform, because of the indigenous nature of the platform. Back in the day before the internet, if you wanted to wreck somebody like that, you'd have to get a job at a TV network. Good luck with that. Not many people had those jobs that you can't get to that job by being a troll. Now, the beauty of it is it's decentralized. Any one of us, me, you, anybody can have a show. That show may be popular, it may not be popular. But if it gets popular, kind of protected up to a certain point. The money that you would spend pursuing someone for harassment, cyberstalking, libel, slander, isn't likely to be worth it, because the bigger the person is, the bigger the fight is, and the more money you need, even though the more money you can get. Just saying. I'm Sky says, it's easier to get a story on as a troll than to get a job there. Yes, it is. Trump has taken advantage of 230. A lot of people have taken advantage of 230. The entire Dabbleverse is taken. But when it comes down, and by the way, there are people that on both sides of the aisle that want it to go away. Big time. And every year it gets a little closer, but the problem is, I don't know if you know this, our Congress is inhabited mostly with elderly people that don't understand the internet. Anyway, and the big money of the tech people will fight it for a while. But friend of the show, I thought you said you were anti-socialist. No. I said it was anti-national socialism of the early 20th century. You guys got to listen to what I say. That's another thing about the internet. People pick apart and then run with it. Anyway, I think that's all I got. You got your choice for an outro. It can be Dial G for Gully. It can be When Tom Gulley Goes to Town. Or it can be The Night the Spiders Attacked. Put your votes in the chat, I guess. Why does nobody ever want to come onto this show? I go into chat rooms, and Terry Nee will back me up on this, in various parts of the internet. And I mean, people come at me with a meat axe. And you're this and you're that, and I could do this, and blah, blah, bing, blah, 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 boom, blah, blah, blah. Maybe they just don't know I'm on, but I have that link open every single time. Trump has sued major broadcasters. Well, you can sue anybody for anything. Trump's also been sued. But Trump sued major broadcasters that in at least one or two instances, well, let's put it this way, at least one instance that I know of, he had a good right to sue them. They played fast and loose with some video editing. You know. Broadcasting is federally regulated. The internet is not. I'll put it that way. And as a matter of fact, the internet is largely unregulated because of Section 230. Broadcasting is very federally regulated. So, anyway, does anybody have an opinion on what you want for your outro song tonight? Everybody, normally, that's one of the few things people get a real hitch in their giddy up about. Nobody? You're just going to make me play The Night the Spiders Attacked again? Is that it? Have you no preference? I've got some other ones, I guess, I could play. Hold on. I could play Podcast King. I could play The Show Must Go On. I can play The Man from... You know what? The Man from Gully might be appropriate because I was talking about the Dabbleverse. Let me open that one up. Tomorrow I'm going to play The Show Must Go On the intro. So, Sky says, thank heaven the FTC doesn't muck with live streaming. They might muck with some of the companies that live stream, but not live streaming. Sky with some spiders. Meniscus Drywall says, I just like you being honest, Tom. Well, I'm trying to be. Bird is the word. Bird, the word. Terry Neal likes stuff about birds. The Man from Gulley has stuff in it about the Dabbleverse. So I think I should play that one. And then get out of here. I'm running out of free StreamYard minutes. Anyway, I'm looking at that old clock on the wall and it says that like the 11 now green, it's time for me to get up on out of here. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And tomorrow, Lauren Spirer, man, you will not believe this story of this girl that just disappeared and the story of her parents' fight to find her and the story of some real scumbags. Some real scumbags. I mean, it's... they won't believe it. Anyway, with all that being said, I think the only thing... Birds are real. I can't deny that. Terry's right about that. I think Terry Nee coming through like a champ. We actually made money tonight, folks. Our goal is any amount of money. And believe me, I see what people give to the people that call the police. I see that. Birds are fake. They charge on power lines. That's kind of funny, actually. Anyway, let's see. Government surveillance drones. There's nothing wrong with the little government surveillance drone. Anyway, with all that being said, I think the only thing left to say is, till next time, and this is a Dabbleverse song I'm about to play. It'll get Dabbleverse people all in a huff. We'll see you next time.
man from Gulley. He'll outsmart the devil verse every day. The man from Gulley. Say what? Taking down those puppets in his funky way. He's got moves like a Motown king. Words so smooth, they gotta sting. Ha! With a mic in hand, he's a podcast pro. Evil schemes on wherever he goes. Clap your hands now. Tom don't run, Tom don't hide. He's got that funky justice stride. With the bass line bumping, the horns on blast. He's fighting those puppets, making it last. Say, Tom Gulley, say the man. Say Gulley, Gulley. He's got the plan. He's the